Let's conclude our lesson 7 by taking a closer look at the huruf of jar that are used in the Quran. There are a total of 17 huruf of jar in the Arabic language. They all behave exactly the same way as min. So there's really nothing new to learn apart from their meaning. However, in this course, inshallah, because we're focused on Quran, I'm going to give you detailed notes on the ones that are used in the Quran. I've grouped them into two groups. The first group, which is here, ba, ta, kaf, lam, wa, that you can see, this is called the inseparable group, i.e. they're always written attached to the next word. And there's a reason for that in Arabic. Now, these groups, of course, cause some difficulty for us because it's not always easy to recognize them. As in the Quran, you can have a word which looks like one single word in Arabic, but in reality, it could be 2 or 3 words. And these are always attached at the beginning of the word. And of course, the ism, which is in jar state, will come after. So in this lesson, let's continue. Look at those words that are made up of one single letter. Ba, ta, kaf, lam, wa. Words that are made up of single letters, we have them in English also. If you look at this example here, I am a student. Now, I'm sure you know that A and I are actually words by themselves, even though there's, of course, the letters of the alphabet. So in context, we can recognize this is not a letter, this is actually a word. In Arabic, we also have single letter words. You can see a number of them on the screen there. The huruf of jar, ba, ta, kaf, lam, wa. Of course, there are others. For example, we have fa, which means so or thus. This is quite extensively used in the Quran. We will study it later, inshallah. But again, as an example, if I wanted to say so he in Arabic, fa means so or thus. So he, fa huwa, it will be actually written together. So you'll end up with fa huwa joined together. And this is where the challenge lies with recognizing these words. Sometimes, of course, you see them as a block and you can't recognize that the first one is a harf of jar. And this is very, very important, inshallah. And I will give you some hints. And again, the clue is really the i'rab. If you can recognize the i'rab of the word, then inshallah, most of the job is done. And this is why I started with the i'rab, because it is the most important property of an ism in Arabic. If you don't understand it, you can't really make significant progress. Now, again, one note related to this, wa is also a single letter word. Looks like it is written separately, but in reality, it isn't. Waw plus few other letters, dal, dal, ra, za, I'm sure you know, does not allow a letter to be written next to it. So what happens when you have wa here? The waw is placed next to the word without any gap. So you will see that also. And again, that causes confusion. Sometimes you don't know whether it's the wa there as part of the word or is actually a separate word. So these are things that we're going to pick up, inshallah. But for that, we need to continue developing our knowledge in a slow pace. So please, as a reminder and as a summary, this very important point, single letter words in Arabic are never written separately. They're always joined onto the next word that comes. Harf of Jarr Ta. The preposition ta as a harf of jar is only used 9 times in the Quran. And it is only used with the word Allah. So you will not see it used with a pronoun or anything else at all. The 9 times that it appears in the Quran is given on the screen. Therefore, if you want to check up, inshallah ta'ala, you are welcome to do so. So what happens with the word ta and then Allah joined together? So you have ta and Allah joined together, and you'll see it written like so. So ta will join onto the hamzatul wasl, which you see at the beginning. I'm sure you're familiar with this by now because I'm going through this very slowly. And then we have the word Allah afterwards. Please note, look at the word Allah at the end, the word for Allah, and you see there's a kasra. So the way you read this is tallahi, tallahi. And that is how you know that this is a harf of jar. Of course, it's very easy to recognize this one because something is attached to the word Allah. So again, I've given you 2 examples here, which you can see from the Quran. Again, you can see the reference points are written. Please do check the Mus'haf, open up the Quran for yourself. So first example, qalu tallahi. So they said by Allah. In the second example, it begins with that, tallahi, by Allah. So please note, ta is only used for taking an oath by Allah, and it is used 9 times in the Quran. Harf of Jarr Wa. We're already familiar with wa. So far, we know that it means and, A-N-D. So for example, these examples I've shared with you before. Kabirun wa jadidun, big and new. Anta wa ana, you and I. Hamidun wa Zaydun, Hamid and Zayd. And then we have al-muallimu, the teacher, wa talibu, and the student. So and is really used for joining things together exactly the same as we do in English, except for, of course, this is wa. and it's used as and. Now, wa is used in a number of ways in the Arabic language. You'll see it in a number of ways in the Quran. The most common, of course, is a and d, used thousands of times. But the other use we're going to learn now, the second use we're going to learn now, is when it's used as a harf of jar. Wow as a harf of jar is used for taking oath. The difference between this and ta is only exclusive with the word Allah, whereas wa can be used with other words. Now, it is used 28 times in the Quran. 28 times in the Quran. So its meaning is an oath, but in terms of grammatical impact, it's exactly the same as min or ta that we've seen. So please take a look at this word here, two words that I have on the screen. The first word is washamsu. Second, wal qamaru. I hope you can recognize that there is a dhamma at the end, and it is most likely it is in the rafa status. So this cannot be a harf of jar. What we have here in Arabic, I will translate this, and the sun and the moon. Please now look at the next two example, washamsi. Then I have wal qamari. Please again take a closer look, by the sun, by the moon. So you can see now this is both of them are in jar status. Very easy. I hope inshallah ta'ala that's relatively easy for you to recognize. So how do I know? Now this is the wa of oath because of the fact that the ism that comes after it is in jar status. So please pay attention to this point. Otherwise you will not be able to recognize them correctly. So there are 28 occurrences of oaths in the Quran. Significant number of them you'll find in Juz Amma, which is the last juz of Quran. Inshallah, I'm sure you know the Quran can be divided into 30 parts for reading purposes, and the last part, last juz, has the most number of shorter surahs, so you'll find them there inshallah. So on the screen I have some examples which I've taken from the Quran, the last three. Again, I want you to do them by yourself before I give you the answers inshallah. Please note, wow can be used also for taking an oath with Allah. For example, wallahi, by Allah. Now, as Muslims, we are required or we're recommended not to go around making oaths. This is not recommended. But if you have to take an oath, you take an oath only by Allah. In the Quran, Allah uses many words to take oath with, and each one has a significance within the surah or the context is being used. Again, for you and I to learn a lesson. So Allah takes oath in the Quran with other words, but as Muslims, we only, if we have to, only take with Allah. Wallahi would be the situation. So that is the first one on the screen. Pause the video, please work all of these out and come back. I hope you've done them. Let's quickly go through them each inshallah. So the first one will be Wallahi. I gave you that before we started. Very easy, by Allah. So somebody's taken an oath by Allah. The next one, please look at it. Wal asru. I've given you the reference where it comes from in the Quran, so please do check it. It's a very famous surah. I'm sure most of you know it. What do we find in that surah? Wal asri. So the first one, asru, is in rafa status, and the second one is in jar. So therefore it is the oath. Wal asri, by the fleeting time or by time. Then we have wad duha or ad duha on its own. Reading it together, we have wad duha. Now here is a problem. There is no indication it's in jar. Why? Because this word acts like mabni. Remember I said if it has alif maksura at the end, it will act like mabni as far as our study is concerned at this level. So wadduha, by the morning brightness. So I hope you can see that inshallah very, very clear. The next one is a little bit more tricky. We have al-Qur'anu al-Hakimu. Again, this is a descriptive phrase. I hope you can recognize it because the four properties are matching. If you take a closer look at that, now I want to make an oath by the wise Quran. And this is from Surah Yasin. Please do check it, inshallah, references on the screen. So what will that look like in the Quran itself? You will see it like this. Wal Qur'ani, and of course al-Hakimi. Why? Because it's following the four properties of the noun that it is describing. So wise is used to describe the Quran, and the oath is taken by the whole phrase. So wal Qur'anil Hakimi, by the wise Quran. I hope you can see that inshallah. When we are learning, we're going to continue to pronounce the final vowel to make things easy for us. Of course, in Quran reading, you will not pronounce the final vowel sound. So inshallah, these examples will suffice for you. Again, it's your challenge. Go to the Quran, open it up and try to find these oaths inshallah and see if you can recognize the word after it is in jar status. That's all you need to do at this stage. Of course, vocabulary inshallah you'll develop as you go through, and then you'll be able to of course translate also. But note, Wow, followed by an ism that is in jar status, is an oath. Kaf, harf of jar. The word kaf is used in the Quran 295 times as a harf of jar. Please note, unlike min, it does not attach to a pronoun. So it will attach to normal nouns as we are familiar with. What does it mean? It means the word like, not in the sense when I say, for example, I like mangoes. Yes, you may like mangoes, but this is not the like we mean. It's a comparison. So, for example, if I say, he is like a lion, I'm saying that he's very brave, he has no fear. So this like, comparison, like as, or used in comparison in terms of meaning. In terms of exact what it will do grammatically, exactly the same as min. So there's really nothing here new to show you. Apart from that, of course, it joins onto a word because it's a single letter word. So we have kaf or ka, and we have dhulumatun. I hope you can recognize that this is feminine plural. Okay, again, if you're having problems, go back to the Muslim table. If I join them together, what do I end up with? Kadhulumatin. Why? Has to be in the jar status. And it is this that will help you identify that this is actually a harf of jar. Why? You look at the word at the end, you see it is in jar status, and then you say, okay, why? That doesn't look right. What's going on? And you can see at the beginning there's a kaf there. Most likely it is a harf of jar, of course, unless the root word at the beginning has a kaf. So again, these are indications how we progress our Arabic studies. Let's now attach kaf to a word beginning with al, definite, for example, and we take an example from the Quran. We have ka, then we have the word al-fujjaru. Again, it's in rafa status. We want to make that into a murakkab jari or jar or majrur. What happens? Kal-fujjari. Again, please note what's happening to the hamzatul wasl that's here, that is joining onto the kaf, and then of course the rest of the word follows. Kal-fujjari, it literally means, if you're looking at the meaning, inshallah, like the wicked. Again, comparing like the wicked. So this is how kaf is used. It will be as one solid unit in a word, is not separated. So you have to pay special attention to i'rab. Without i'rab, you'll not be able to recognize the frequency of how they're used in the Quran. Please don't worry about it at this stage. I'm giving you all the shortcuts so you can save a lot of going around in circles, inshallah. So what I'd like you to do is make the murakkab jari, jar or majrur, using the three words I've got in the screen. The third one I've already done for you, but again, I want you to practice, inshallah. See where you go from there, inshallah. I hope you've done the examples. I'm quickly going to give you the answers, inshallah. The first, kaf joined to nurun. Nurun means light. Light as in not opposite to heavy. Light as in where there is darkness, there will be light. So we put the light on. This is what we mean by light, brightness. And then we have like the light. So again, we've got two examples here which you need to do. Last one we've already done. So let's go through the answers. The first one is kanurin. I hope this is easy. And kalnuri, like the light, and kadhulumatin. Now, if you do these three exercises, inshallah, this will help you reinforce the basics use of kaf. Let's quickly look at two examples from the Quran which will bring alive what we've been studying. And I put the actual text of Quran in there on the screen also for you. The first one I have is from Surah Fil. I think most of you probably memorized this surah. At the beginning, if you look at it, we have فَجَعَلَهُمْ. We'll leave that bit out because we haven't studied it yet. Next, we see كَعَصْفٍ. Then we see the word مَأْكُولٍ. I hope you can easily recognize that both of these words are in jar status. So that's easy for you to recognize that both in jar status. The first one is jar, the second one is jar. But what's going on? Why is it in jar? So if you look forward a little bit, you'll see that it has at the beginning kaf, ka. So that gives you an indication that this is the harf of jar. Ka'asfin. Why ma'kulin is in jar status? Because it is a adjective, a description of the word asfin, which is coming before, and therefore it is copying the i'rab. So the real i'rab comes from the first word. The second word is just copying it, and I've gone through this with you in the descriptive phrase discussion. Please go back and refer to those lessons. It'll copy all the four properties. So here the translation is like chewed up straw. The word straw is being described as chewed up, i.e. literally something that's been eaten. So if you've ever seen in a field when cows have eaten hay or grass or some tall stalks, what they leave behind. So that's what's been described here. Again, please refer to the tafsir of the surah and you'll get more details, inshallah. Next example we have from Surah Ibrahim. Very beautiful passage of Quran. Please do read it in your own time. I'm not going to go through any detail here. But as far as our Arabic study is concerned, let's look at the some of the sections, inshallah. So you'll note here I have kalimatan tayyibatan. The first kaf, can it be a harf of jar? Impossible. Why? Because tan is not tin. So that's one indication. I hope you can also work out the word kalima means a word. Okay, so that's another indication for you. But even if you didn't know the meaning of the word, you know that that cannot be the harf of jar. So you have kalimatan tayyibatan. That is a descriptive phrase. What does it mean? A good word. A good word. You see the translation here, inshallah. A good word. A good word. Move forward a little bit. Next word you see, ka shajaratin. That is your harf of jar. Why? Look, it is in jar status. Shajaratin means a tree. Tayyibatin we've already done, means good. So it's like a good tree. So you can see the translation here, inshallah. Good tree, and this kaf is your harf of jar. I hope that's easy for you to recognize, inshallah. And that's how we progress our Arabic study. Again, I want to say something very important for those of you who are serious about studying Quran, Arabic to study Quran, or Arabic to learn to understand Quran. That's what you want to do. The more distance you have from the Quran, the more difficult you're going to find. So from day one, whatever little I've taught you, even the fact that alif lam means the, look for it in the Quran. I'm teaching you huruf of jar. If you don't spend some time looking for them in the Quran and identifying them, don't worry about making mistakes. That will come as a natural process of learning. That means you're disconnected from the Quran, so therefore you're not going to learn, brothers and sisters. So please be serious. These videos are really designed with the intention, with the best may Allah accept it from us, to teach you to connect to the Book of Allah. If anything else happens, then we have failed. And if you are not serious and you're not following the examples I'm given, then you will not succeed as much as you should. May Allah give us all tawfiq. May Allah forgive our mistakes and make things easy for us. Harf of Jarr laam. Laam as a harf of jar is used in the Quran 2,451 times. So very, very frequently used in the Quran. Therefore, you must learn it well. And you'll see it again, going back to the example. I don't want to rattle the same thing again and again, but there are 600 pages in the standard Mus'haf. So if it's 600 pages, divide that into 24, what do you get? So this is the number of times you'll see it per page in the Quran. So it's very, very important for our study. Now, laam has other uses in the Arabic language. This is just one. Just like the word wa has other uses, laam, this is just one. Again, I'm going to introduce you to all of the ones that are important for Quranic studies. But for now, please note, I'm only talking about the laam that is a harf of jar. How do you know it's a harf of jar? Very easy. Just like all the others, the word after it will be in jar status. This laam attaches to pronouns. Very important. And it attaches to pronouns many, many times in the Quran. I'll show you some examples, inshallah. So what happens with this? Let's look exactly the same thing as min. I have li rajulun. Rajulun means a man. A man. I think I've covered that word before. But if I haven't noted down, it means a man. I want to say to a man. To a man or for a man. This thing is for a man or this thing is to a man. How do I do that in Arabic? Li rajulin. Please write this out. By seeing it once on the screen, you're not going to learn. Li rajulin. Now, I hope now it is not at all difficult for you to recognize that rajulin is in jar status. No problem. How? Because of this laam at the beginning. So, li rajulin, for a man. If I want to say for the man, I have li plus ar-rajulu. Please pay attention. The man, hamzatul wasl, and the laam. Why have I not gone through it slowly for you? Here, what happens when it joins the li? Okay, li comes and joins a word with hamzatul wasl, with al after it, which is the. What happens? The hamzatul wasl disappears in writing. It is no longer written. Please note this, otherwise you will not be able to recognize it. So li, the hamzatul wasl goes. That's in all cases with al. Word comes after, which begins with al. So li, the hamzatul wasl of the al is gone, and then li. So you get the lam, sorry. Thus you end up with lil. Lil. Of course, in this case, you'll read it with the ra joint. Okay, lir rajuli. Lir rajuli, that's how you'll say it. So lil rajuli, for the man. Please note this, very, very important. Otherwise, you will not recognize it in the Quran. So hamzatul wasl of al disappears, and the two lams join together, like you see. And anytime you see these two lams together in the Quran, or a word that has jar and then it's got two lams, you know what's going on. Li plus the lam. So the second blue lam, which we have in the middle, is actually the definite article. Very important also, when it joins the word Allah, the word for Allah, what happens? Of course, the Hamzatul Wasl goes. There is an Hamzatul Wasl at the beginning. But in Arabic, even that lam assimilates. So you end up with lillah, and there's a kasra on the first lam, and then at the end. So this is again a writing particular rule related to the word Allah. Please note it, because it's in Surah Fatiha. Alhamdu lillahi. Please note that, inshallah. You see it, open the Quran, check for yourself, inshallah. So this li, the first part of the lam, is the li, and it assimilates in writing, it joins, in writing. So you end up with one word with a kasra at the beginning, kasra at the end, and that's how it's written. Of course, in normal Arabic, it's more challenging because it is not indicated in this way. This is Quranic script I'm talking about. The lam as a preposition, a harf of jar, will attach to pronouns. Again, we've been through this in the previous session, so please look at that. In there, I mentioned that there are two sets of pronouns. It cannot attach to these. Huwa, huma, hum cannot attach to them. It can attach to the attached version. Now, if you follow my method, inshallah, you will not get confused. Why? Because this huma looks identical to this huma. Right? This hunna looks identical to this hunna. This hum to this hum. So how do you solve this problem? Very easy. The purple ones are always at the end of the word. They're attached to the end of the word. The black ones, the detached ones, they are not. Okay? They are not attached to an ism. They do not attach to a fi'l. They do not attach to another harf in normal circumstances. So that's how to tell the difference. It's the suffix of the word where you will see them. And please note, you have to translate them correctly. It's not the same word. You can argue that you and your and so on may be the same and so on, but in Arabic you have to understand that this is the nasab or jar version. It will be a jar when it is attached to a lam, of course, or any other huruf of jar. Now we're going to attach lam to pronouns. Now remember, so far we've been dealing with li. Li is when it attaches to an ism or a noun in general. But when it attaches to a pronoun, it is changed from li to la. So please note this very important point. This word will be li when it attaches to a noun. When it attaches to a pronoun, it will be la. Very, very important. So we attach la and we put the attached pronoun version, which is hu. Not huwa, it's hu. So what happens when we join them together? What we end up with one single word. Of course, you can see the two parts independently. The first one is your harf of jar. The second one is your noun that is in jar status. The first one, harf of jar, the second one is ism majroor. So grammatically speaking, exactly the same thing as in nouns, except for the fact that the words changed now to la. But what do we end up with when we put la plus hu together? We end up with lahu. Now you have to pay attention as far as Quranic Arabic is concerned. This is read lahu with some elongation, not lahu. And I've written it here on the screen with an inverted dhamma. This is called ulta pesh. Those of you learning it from the Indian subcontinent. Indian, I think it's Bengali, Urdu and Farsi, they refer to the same thing. But in Urdu, they call it ulta pesh, and the same in Bengali. It is an inverted dhamma. So lahu. Why? I'll tell you the rules later, but for now, just accept it that it is read this way. And this is now your murakkab jari. Now, alhamdulillah, when it comes to Quranic script, this is very clear. I will show you examples of that. Now, if you look at these two screens, I hope, inshallah, they're large enough for you to see it. I've taken two standard ways. There are many others, but these are the ones from the two standard types of mushafs that's commonly read by Muslims. Now, we have here in the first example, lahu. I hope you can see there's a small wow on the screen. There's a small wow after the ha to show you to elongate the sound. The same example we have here, and this version uses the inverted dhamma. Let me clear that. So this version uses the inverted dhamma. So it doesn't matter what symbols used. The main rule is that you pronounce it lahu, not lahu. Lahu. So please note that it's an addition to learning Arabic, but these are things normally not pointed out in many books because they're focused on spoken Arabic and these are not important. But we are focused only on Quranic Arabic, and this is very, very important that we also, alhamdulillah, correct if there are any mistakes in our reading. So lahu, written two different ways in the mushaf. So I've showed you the one with the inverted dhamma, and you can see the other one where the small wow is placed afterwards. The other very important rule about using pronouns is the special one called ya mutakallim. This is this one, ya, which means me or my. That's the basic translation. I, me, my, as you know in English. This one particularly is the nasab or jar version. This ya mutakallim is very fussy. Wherever it appears, whether it attached to a ism, fi'l or harf, it doesn't really care. It demands before it that a kasra is placed. So la now becomes li again. Why? Because of the ya mutakallim. Ya mutakallim will always want a kasra before it. So please note this ya. This means me or my. And wherever you see it, we'll come across it a number of times now. And we will have to put a kasra before that word. Even when the word does not end with a kasra, it will force it to take a kasra. Otherwise, you will not be able to read it correctly. So this now becomes not lai, as in with the fatha, is li, with some elongation. Again, please pay attention to that. This is a very, very important rule. So you've seen la now change in 3 different ways. Li normally with an ism, la normally with a pronoun, li back again with the ya. So that's all you really need to know. Don't worry about any rules or regulations. Just simply make those 3 points, inshallah, and you'll be able to recognize them. Now let's attach la to all the 14 pronouns. We've done the pronouns before. Huwa, huma, hum. Hiya, huma, hunna. Anta, antuma, antum. Anti, antuma, antunna. Ana, nahnu. We've done this, alhamdulillah. You should be now familiar with it. Now we're going to learn the attached pronouns. I told you not to memorize them in isolation. We're going to memorize them using la as our first example. At the beginning, don't worry about the translation. Make sure that you can get the TPI signs right for all 14 of them. Later on, inshallah, the translation will come naturally as you begin to become familiar with the pronouns that you see them. Now, these attached pronouns come in the Quran thousands and thousands of times. We're going to start with la. Of course, later on, we'll learn how to use them with ism and also with verbs. But for now, we're going to start with the huruf of jar. The first one is la. So the first, your right hand this way. Again, I remind you, this is my right hand and this is my left hand because my watch is here. So right hand is this way. In the screen, unfortunately, maybe like this. So just be careful, inshallah. Use your right hand. Lahu, the first one, for him. Lahuma, lahum. Lahu, lahuma, lahum. One more time. Lahu, lahuma, lahum. Now we're going to do the feminine now. Laha. So this is the left hand pointing this way with one finger. I'm going to draw it in, but normally you should stretch it out. Laha, lahuma, lahunna. Laha, lahuma, lahunna. Then we have for you, which is anta, normally for the Rafa version, we have ka. Please note that is ka. So the right hand pointing this way, I'm going to show you a finger like this, inshallah. So we have laka, lakuma, lakum. One more time. Laka, can you see the finger like this? 1, then 2, then 4. Laka, lakuma, lakum. Laka, lakuma, lakum. And then we have feminine version will be laki, lakuma, lakunna. Laki, lakuma, lakunna. Laki, lakuma, lakunna. And then the singular, which is I, of course I mentioned this to you, li, it becomes li, not la anymore, li. And then of course we have the last one for us, which is lana, 4 fingers, lana. So li, 1 finger, lana, 4 fingers. Again, your brain will soon start associating these pronouns. If you memorize them the way I'm telling you, inshallah, you will not have any problems and you will instantly recognize them and your brain will work out second person, third person, singular, dual, plural, masculine, feminine, all of that difficulty just by using hand signs. So please follow my instructions very, very carefully. Again, I've already mentioned to you, la becomes la and then hu. Why? Because you can't say lihu. So there is a reading rule here. Lahu, longer. I've explained that to you. And li. Those are the only 2 changes that you need to be worried about. Otherwise, the rest are read as normal. So final practice with all 14 of them. This is how you should be practicing at home. You look straight on the screen in front of you, wherever it's written. You look straight that way and you do first by looking and then of course you'll do without looking. So let's practice this, inshallah, how I expect you to revise this at home. Ready? Lahu, lahuma, lahum. Laha, lahuma, lahunna. Laka, lakuma, lakum. Laki, lakuma, lakunna. Li, lana. Li, lana. That's your 14 attached pronouns to the Harf of Jarr, laam, or la in this case. Okay, let's quickly go through the answers. First one, we have waladun. We want to add li in front. I hope you can instantly recognize it should be li waladin. Next we have li al-waladu. What should it become? Lil waladi. Remember the hamzatul wasl, what happens to it? Only with li. Please note that, inshallah. Then we have lillahi. Lillahi. I hope that's very clear, inshallah. The kasra at the beginning and at the end, which you can see. Now, al-muttaqoon, you should have worked out, is exactly the same as muslimun. So the jar status should be muslimin. And then we have the lam coming as well, and then joining an al. So what happens? Lil muttaqeen. Please look at Surah Al-Baqarah right at the beginning. Hudan lil muttaqeen. I hope you can see it, inshallah. Do see it, open the Quran. Huwa. La or li. Well, it will be la and it will be lahu. Ana will become li. So again, these are just some examples, and 2451, of course, you'll find them on almost every page. Pay attention, stay focused in your ayat, and whichever page, just pick one random page, inshallah, or start it from the beginning and see how much you can recognize. Harf of Jarr B. B is also one of the most common words used in the Quran. Again, being a one-letter word is not obvious. It's always joined to the word that it is making into a jar status. Now here it is used 2,544 times in the Quran. It has a number of meanings: with, in, at, because. It can also be used as oath. So quite a range, but most common meanings you'll get in, with, etc. So it can attach to a ism just like li or la, and it can also attach to a pronoun. Exactly the same with this harf of jar, which is B. Again, remember the importance of Quranic Arabic in the sense that it is 2,544 times. So again, exactly the same principle, nothing different here. I want to add it to the word Allah. Again, please note with B, what happens? The hamzatul wasl will remain, but we'll see that in a second. So we have the word Allah in jar status, okay, in jar status. And we have the ba, which is a harf of jar before, and this will be called ism majroor, exactly like what we've seen before. So what happens in writing? We have B joining the hamzatul wasl. The hamzatul wasl does not disappear here. And then we have billahi, 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 which is, of course, is your jar majroor or murakkab jari, which means in Allah or with Allah. Now again, very famous. Now, alhamdulillah, with the progress we made, apart from a'udhu, you should be able to recognize everything else. A'udhu is actually a verb. So we leave that one in red. And then you have billahi, in or with Allah. Minash shaitani, from the shaitan, which we've done earlier when we did the min example. And ar-rajimi, I hope you can recognize, is actually a description of the word ash-shaitan, and a descriptive phrase, and therefore it's in jar status. Why? Because it's copying the i'rab on the four properties of the word ash-shaytani. And this is what's going on here. So alhamdulillah, almost all of it is now clear for you just by learning these huruf of jar, and this is why they're so important. So let's look at two more examples to clarify what happens with B. So B qalamun means by a pen. It'll become B qalamin. Easy, I hope, inshallah. B, then al-qalamu, the pen, it'll become bil qalami. Hamzatul wasl remains, the lam remains. Note the difference between when we used it with lam or la or li. So again, bil qalami, by the pen, and exactly the same grammatical structure, nothing different here. Again, the secret is recognizing the i'rab and looking at the beginning, and then you can see the ba there. And if it has al, of course, you'll see it written in that form. If it doesn't, it will be joined as the first example. If we wanted to add B to a pronoun, we'll take example with who, the who pronoun we looked at. So we add B, which is your harf of jar. The pronoun afterwards, who, which is ism majroor. Now in Arabic, can't say bihu, doesn't sound nice. So what happens in Arabic becomes bihi. Please note, this one again has elongated sound. It's not bihi, bihi. And I put the kasra in standing form, and this is called kharazabar in Bengali and Urdu, far as I know. In other languages, it may be called something else. So this one way of writing it is with the kharazabar. Again, in standard Arabic, you don't need this. Of course, in Quranic Arabic, is absolutely essential, so you can read it correctly. But you should know, should be read bihi. Because B has a kasra at the beginning, there are some changes happens to the other attached pronouns also. The first one we've seen becomes bihi rather than bihu, bihi. Bihuma, again, is difficult to say, so it becomes bihima. Please note that, bihima. Okay, not huma, hima. And we also have bihim. Again, bihum is difficult to say, becomes bihim. And bihunna becomes bihinna. Please note those changes, inshallah ta'ala, before we attach them. So I'm highlighting to you the differences. It's exactly the same attached pronouns. The word is not different. It's changing to facilitate easy reading. Because why? There is a kasra before it. I will go through the rules later with you. But for now, just memorize them as they come. Just to show you how the markings are in the Quran again with bihi. So you can see it in this part here. This is from Surah Al-Baqarah. You can open your own mushaf, the one you read at home. Each one of them will have some sort of indication. So you can see it here, bihi. And then in this script, you'll find it written. There's a still a little bit of a marking at the end, which looks like a elongated ya. That again indicates that you read it longer. And there's 3 of them in this ayah alone. So please, again, find it, inshallah. And this will be an exercise for you to do. It gets you connected to the Quran. So this is in Surah Al-Baqarah. And again, you should be able to find it, inshallah, ayah number 26. So I've gone through the changes. All we're going to do in this lesson to make things quick, inshallah, just quickly go through the 14 using the TPI that we've been using so far. So the right hand, ready? Bihi, bihima, bihim. Bihi, bihima, bihim. Bihi, bihima, bihim. And then we have biha, bihima, bihinna. Biha, bihima, bihinna. Then we have for you, exactly the same, the ka, bika, bikuma, bikum. And then we have the feminine, which is this way, biki, bikuma, bikunna. And then we have the last 2, bi, bina, bi, bina. Again, note the ya demands a kasra, is already there, so there's no need to change anything here. So let's do one more time, inshallah. Please practice these. You'll find them thousands and thousands of times in the Quran, along with la, attached pronouns, bi, attached pronouns. You've got to master this stuff. Otherwise, you'll be always looking for translations. You don't want to do that, especially with the most common words. So please take your time, use the TPI, and remember this, do them in cycles of 3. That's all, not an hour, 3. Next day, 3. Next day, 3. And write it out 3 times. Let's say Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It will not take you more than a few minutes. If you make that sacrifice, inshallah, these words will be inside you. They'll become part of your knowledge base. And then, inshallah, you can build a solid foundation from there. If you don't learn the basics well, you will never make any progress. So I appeal to you. I hope you are, inshallah. And if you're having any difficulty, please let me know in the comment section. Otherwise, if you're enjoying it and you're learning, please let us know. It will motivate other people also. So please do the TPI. Exactly, I'm showing you. Let's do it one more time, inshallah. And this is how you will practice at home. First time, you keep on doing it by looking, even if it takes a week, 2 weeks. And then you'll remove the looking and you do it without looking. You get somebody else to check whether you're doing it right. Ready? Bihi, bihima, bihim. Biha, bihima, bihinna. Bika, bikuma, bikum. Biki, bikuma, bikunna. Bi, bina. Please don't confuse. Right hand this one, left hand that one, third person this way, second person this way, first person this way. That's all you need to remember, and your brain will start working out these complexities in grammar, which takes ages to overcome, especially if coming from English to Arabic. You'll be confused like no tomorrow. Here, inshallah ta'ala, you will be clear. Just focus, inshallah ta'ala, and you'll be fine. Before we go, one quick exercise for you to do. I have B, then I have one word only at the beginning. Al-walidani. Please careful, try to recognize what type of word it is. Hint is in the translation. And then you have huwa, huma, hum. Please write them down on your notebook and let's see how we go on. So the first one will be bil walidaini. Remember the dual, how they change? Okay. Bi huwa will become bihi. Bihuma will become bihima. And bihum will become bihim. That's all there is. We could practice all day. There are 2,544 examples. We can't do that. In reality, all you need is to start opening the Quran and going through some pages. Everything I taught you so far, you will find something, I'm guaranteed, on every page, inshallah. So it's up to you to practice. It's up to you to make the sacrifice, and you will see the mercy of Allah and the door of knowledge open for you, inshallah, and for all of us. I include myself in that dua. May Allah increase me and all of us in knowledge. That's all, brothers and sisters, as far as the introduction to preposition is concerned, I've gone through the following: ba, ta, kaf, lam, wa. The rest of them, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to do in lesson number 8. I didn't want to make this lesson too long, but I hope you've done the following. Number 1, you made some notes. Number 2, you've done the TPI with la, lahu, and bihi. If you haven't, you're going to struggle, because I will expect you to know this. Just like the pronouns, I expect you to now memorize them if you followed my instructions, inshallah. We're going to build on that. So lesson number 8 will be going through min, fi, an, ala, hatta, ila. There's 6 of them. We'll go through them and how they're used very quickly, inshallah ta'ala. All I'm trying to do here, again, I explained as I did before, all I'm trying to do is give a comprehensive set of notes, comprehensive set of lessons, so you don't have to go from one book to another, one course to another. You can find everything that you need for Quranic uses in one place. That is the intention, inshallah ta'ala. So you don't have to spend months before you go to study Quran. Inshallah, later on, Allah grant tawfiq, you can go to any course you like, no problem. You can join any online or in your local masjid is the best. If there's anything learning locally for advanced classes, please do so. But if you're staying with this course, inshallah, please trust me. I'm giving you all the resources that you need. Of course, you have to physically write the notes down, but everything's there that you need up to the prepositions. And inshallah ta'ala, you will see how everything I'm teaching you is connected. If you miss one lesson, you'll struggle in the future. So just to give you the plan again, lesson 8, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to complete our discussion on, or I should say introduction on, the prepositions and how they're used in the Quran. And then lesson 9 and 10, 11, 12, you'll see everything you've learned, like you're seeing now, being repeated again and again. And that's the beauty of learning Quranic Arabic. Everything is repeated. If you study one surah well, you'll find most of what you've learned in grammar rules repeated again and again. Any large size surah, even if you study 5 pages, you'll find the same things repeated again and again. Of course, there'll be complex beauty that will come, inshallah, once we've mastered the basics. That's all for now. Jazakumullah khairan for all your feedback, all your comments. Please kindly share this opportunity with all the brothers and sisters that you know. Encourage as many people as possible to study Arabic, to learn, to understand Quran. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive all our mistakes. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant all of us the ability to read Quran, to understand Quran, to live according to His message. And every single day of our life, we pray that our iman in the Quran increases every single day. And may the Quran become our companion in our grave. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq on the day of judgment that it will also intercede on our behalf. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. الذي علم بالقلم